Hey guys, London system is one of the most common openings in online chess. It's a strong and actually a very interesting line. In this video I'm going to show you 3 traps that are going to help you crash this opening, especially among beginners and intermediate players. I can tell you these traps work pretty well. So the first opening trap is d4, we play d5, and after bishop f4 we're going to play this move h5. And of course this move is extremely strange, it's very surprising, but there is a very nice and hidden idea with this move. We will understand it very soon. If white plays here e3, they are getting into the trap, but also I want to say that the best move for white in this position is knight f3. Then they are defending fine, and we will have a mid game slightly better for white, but very playable with a normal development. So let's get into the trick with e3, and the thing here is that the 3 pawns are blocking the bishop. So the bishop is a little like trapped here, and also this pawn is going to help us controlling the bishop on g3. So the next move is going to be this surprising e5. The idea is that if they capture with this pawn, we play g5 and h4, but also they can capture with the bishop, but this is totally fine for black. We can play here f6. The idea is that we're going to control the 3 dark squares with our pawns, and then we're going to trap the bishop. We need to say that in this position the best move for white is bishop e2, but this is not so easy to find. If white plays that, then we just capture the bishop. Of course they can capture the pawn on h5, but this position is going to be very unclear. In the best case, white is just getting uneven mid game, so this is still very well for us. And if the bishop goes back to f4, which is probably the most logical move, we play g5 and then we play h4, and these positions now are much better for black, so we can say white got into the trap here. The next trap is going to be one of the main lines of London system. So after a normal development like bishop f4, we play e6, they can play e3 here, and then we play bishop d6. The bishop will have to go back to g3. We can develop, they will develop as usual. In this line we castle, they play knight d2 as usual, and then we break here our c5. They usually play c3, and then we just develop our knight. And after bishop d3, this is the position I want to highlight. Here we have some options like queen e7, like b6, but the move I want to suggest for the trap is this rook e8. The idea is that we're threatening to break over here, so our bishop is much better, and we are fighting for the center a lot and getting a nice position. So in general, in this position white needs to play knight e5, so they block this advance and the bishop is not released over there. In this position we're going to capture that knight on e5, and well, the main line is when they capture with the pawn, but also I want to tell you that if they capture with the bishop, we just trade and we play knight d7. This position is very well, more or less equal mid game, but no problems for black here. So when they capture with the pawn, we will play knight d7, and then we are threatening that pawn on e5 in some lines. If white plays f4 here, they're getting into what we want, but also I want to say that the best move for white here is just knight f3, and the right move for us is going to be something like b6 and a normal development later. Observe that we shouldn't try to get that pawn in the center because there are many threats. There's a lot of poison there. If we try to get the pawn, they can trade, and also they can play queen h5 here, and then they are getting the knight, they are getting h7, there's a pin, so this position is too complicated. White is winning here, so do not try to get that pawn. Instead of that, in that position, after knight d7, knight f3, just develop with b6. But the line of the trick is when they play f4, then we can play this move c4. The idea is that we're clearing this line. When the bishop goes back, we can play queen b6, and then we are threatening 2 pawns at the same time. They can castle here. This is probably the best move, and probably the best capture is this one here on b2 because we are disconnecting and threatening more pawns. I'm just going to say that if your opponent plays rook c1 here, don't take that pawn because there is a discovered here getting your queen. Instead of that, I think a better move is g6, and this position is still very complicated, but we have a pawn up. There might be some compensation for white here, but this is still very playable for black. And the third opening trap to crash London system is going to be very simple but also very powerful and effective. The idea is that we're going to play knight f6, and when white plays bishop f4, as it is normal in London, we play c6. Very often they will try e3 here, and then we have this move g5. At this point white doesn't have to capture the pawn, they can just play bishop g3. I think that's the best move here, and it's a normal mid game. Maybe white is a little better, but it's still very playable. But if they get the pawn, if they capture here, they are getting into the trap. In this position we can capture the bishop in 2 moves by playing queen a5 check, and whatever white plays, we're capturing the bishop on g5. This is very effective, especially in Blitz and Bullets. This works very well. If you guys have any question, let me know in the comments. If you want to see the 5 most powerful and effective opening traps in chess, check out this video over here. I highly recommend it. Thank you guys, like, subscribe, see you on the next.